green moves. Oh, that's, you can always move this. No, it's fine.
Sizitube asinamala sisebenzi bayeshila umsizitube asinamala sisebenzi imali 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 uNSFAS akabhadale SSFAS akabhadale uNSFAS akabhadale NSFAS akabhadale imali 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 Male, imale.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, colleagues that are here present today, more especially the SRC, because this is your conference. But I just want to make a disclaimer, Product Director, before I start. You can't say NSFAS is not paying when we have exceeded the budget of TVETs. Yes. Let me introduce myself formally. My name is Kaya Ndima. As Mr. Sondi had said, I am the newly appointed acting senior manager in the TVETs sector. Okay. Colleagues and leadership, I'll just take you through the TVET update for 2025 and of course the 2026 readiness. As you all know that this is your last conference and we are nearly closer to the end of the year for this academic period. So the plans for 2026, I do note that you all know that we've got 14 servicing administrators which are servicing 50 TVET colleges. And that number is not enough to service all 50 colleges, but we have been doing that in the past years and we have succeeded. What made us to succeed, colleagues, is that starting from last year, we've started to deploy 50 intern graduates that we're assisting each and every TVET college. So we will continue doing that in the 2026 academic year, together with the 14 servicing administrators that have always been servicing your institutions. But what we will be doing for the 2026 academic year, we are deploying the servicing administrators for a period of 2 months, which should start mid-January, and it will end mid-March 2025 for all the 50 TVET colleges. Like I have said, these servicing administrators will be supported by the 50 graduates, which will be deployed in all TVET colleges. But they will be their colleagues up until the end of April 2026. In this 2-month period, what we will be doing to ensure that all 14 servicing administrators are visible to all institutions, they will be divided, colleagues. For an example, you would note that we've got servicing administrators that are servicing 3 institutions minimum, up to 5. So they will be divided, but you will see on the next slide how they will be divided to ensure that they are at these institutions and they are providing the adequate support that is required. So we will see on the next slide. The servicing administrators as well as the 50 graduates will be working hand in hand with the financial aid officers that are at institutions as well as the SRCs. And that is you, colleagues, that are here today. So this is just the deployment schedule for 2026. We plan to start from the 13th of January. However, these may change, but we will let you know when these are changing. But these are the dates for now that we have prepared. Like I have said, colleagues, in my previous slide, that you've got a servicing administrator that services 3 or more institutions. There is the schedule. For an example, if you look at KZN, we've got Uloyiso Mlambisi, who is servicing Mnambiti, who's servicing Mtashane and Machuba. Those are the dates. But I'm saying these dates are subject to change, but we will let you know well in advance. So I will not go through each and every servicing administrator. You do know your servicing administrators. This schedule will be shared with the financial aid office so you can have it so that we can keep each other accountable, because you would know when this person is supposed to be at our institution or not. So this is just the deployment schedule. And then important to note, colleagues, we have issued an invitation, I think on Friday, if it was not Thursday, where we are inviting all CFOs, all financial aid officers, all SRCs in Cape Town on the 15th of January, 2026. But that is also a date that we have shared for now, but this date might change. But as and when it changes, we will let you know. So these are the dates for now. The next slide, colleagues, talks to the occupational programs and the funding rules. I know we've been talking about that a lot lately, and we do not know exactly what are the rules when it comes to the occupational programs and how we get to fund them as NSFAS. We are saying more than one occupational qualification may be funded if the combined duration of the occupational qualification is 3 years, and the qualifications are at different NQF levels. And I do note, I suppose you all know the NQF levels, how they work: NQF level 5, NQF level 6, NQF level 7, NQF level 8, up to NQF level 10. So you do note that. What we are saying is that the N+1 does not apply for funding of the occupational programs, because you do note that you would probably need to do an NCV program, and we will count the years when NSFAS is funding you for those. That does not affect you when you start studying the occupational program. Hence, we are saying the N+1 does not apply. Students already funded for NCV programs at TVET colleges are eligible for NSFAS funding on occupational qualifications, starting from NQF level 5. I think it's what I've explained already in the first slide. But you must have completed the NCV program. You can't go and do an NCV program and you leave it incomplete and you go and start the occupational program. That NCV program that you are doing, you must ensure that it's complete before we can fund you. Students already funded towards the national diploma that includes N4 to N6 programs through the NSFAS are not eligible for funding towards occupational qualifications up to NQF level 6. However, they can be funded if they are going to do the NQF level 7 of occupational qualification, from NQF level 7 upward. Are we clear, colleagues and leadership? And then students funded through NSFAS may only be enrolled on occupational qualifications following the 2 half-year cycles. That is semester 1 and semester 2. And then that means you've got the January intake and the July intake. However, for you to be funded for the January intake, you must have applied for the NSFAS funding, which closed on the 15th of November, 2026. We've mentioned this in the conference that we had in East London. We've also mentioned it in the SATVETSA Conference, which we had in October, where we said students must ensure that they apply now. As things stand, colleagues, we are not going to be opening applications in January for funding, as things stand. So if you are planning to start from January, you must have applied already in the application window, which closed on the 15th of November. Then, of course, if you are planning to do the second intake, which starts in July, we are going to open for semester 2 applications. We are obviously going to open for T2. We are going to open for T3. So we are still going to open for those cycles. Important for students and college to observe is that the correct NQF level before registering, you must please check that, because we do not want a student saying that I have applied and my application has been approved, but I'm not getting allowances, mainly because you have applied for the incorrect cycle or the incorrect NQF level. I suppose some of you have heard last year where we had an issue of university students that applied when we opened only for TVETs in January, and that became a huge problem in the country. So we do not want that to happen with TVET students. College must also observe specification from DHED regarding which occupational programs qualify for NSFAS allowances and which do not, so that we do not have an undue expectations of NSFAS allowances. The 2025 payment update, colleagues, I will take you through that 2025 payment where leadership was saying we are not paying. Just want to show you a picture that we are paying and we are exceeding the payments. First and foremost, this is the overall utilization of 2025. As you can see, the budget allocation that we had for TVETs was 9.1 billion, right? And the number of registrations received is 294,055 from all 50 colleges. The projected amount based on that number of 294,055 was 11 billion. Can you see that already exceeds the budget? But you are saying we're not paying. What is it that we have paid? We have paid 10,356 for 284,000 students from where we have received the registrations. Now, if you look at that, colleagues and leadership, your budget is 9.1 billion. We've actually paid 10.3 billion. That's more than the budgeted amount that we have received. But you are still saying we are not paying. So is your statement correct, leadership? It's not. Okay. So these are the numbers, colleagues, as of the 25th of November, 2025. I've already mentioned that these are the number of registrations we have received, and this is the number of students we have paid. Now, you are wondering what happened to the difference of the students that we have received registrations for, but we did not pay. Colleagues, we did not pay because some of these registrations we have received, students did not qualify. Or maybe the registration information that is on these registration data did not correspond with what we need or did not qualify for the funding conditions. Hence, we did not pay for the 9,319 students. That's the difference, because I suppose you would wonder what happened to the rest. So the rest, it's because of that. The things that are called exceptions, I suppose you are aware of those. So this is just the breakdown per institution. I am not going to go through it per institution. I will also share this with the program director for financial aid office to know that this is what we have claimed for, this is what was paid, this was the projected amount and the total dispersed, because that information is very important for the financial aid office. But I will not going to go through each and every college, but as you can see, colleagues, for example, Polan College, they have given us 6,710 students that are registered, and the projected amount was 221 million. The students that we ended up paying, it's 6,571, and the amount that that was dispersed from the one that was projected is 214 million. So you can see that they claimed more, but we paid less because there are students that we did not pay for, mainly because of the exceptions. Are we clear, colleagues? They fall under that 9,317 that I spoke to earlier on, but I'm not going to go through each and every institution. So that is the end of my presentation, Program Director. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay. Let's give him a good round of applause. Okay. So we're going to get, loaded the second one. TK. I want to get both presentations. So when I say a definition yabo yokubhadala only applies when imali ingena kwi-individual pockets zabo, not nje ukubhadalwa generally. So that's why besithi wrong. Now, we are now going to get a presentation on student accommodation processes for 2026. Izakwenziwa bayamazi ke Gauteng. Bayamazi nimbiza bani Gauteng? Izakwenziwa kusisixolelo waseGauteng. So she's also, I know now, she's appointed to deal with the student accommodation. So, you know, in NSFAS, things change. So, Nokayo 10, I'm recently being appointed. So now, recently appointed. Let's give Ukalele a good round of applause, colleagues. The roles are the same. We don't howl, we focus on the presentation. Thank you.
Please. Greetings, everyone. Is it because I'm a female? So now I want my own. Kancane sekusele kancane, kancane sizophumelela. Kancane sekusele kancane, kancane sizophumelela. kancane sekusele kancane kancane sizophumelela kancane sizophumelela yo 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 sekusele kancane kancane sizophumelela yo 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 sekusele kancane kancane sizophumelela okay mandla awethu greetings ladies and gentlemen umuntu flekazithi when you're standing here it's not easy to talk. So as introduced, my name is Xolelwa Ntaba. I am employed as the servicing administrator at the Gauteng South region, currently assisting in student accommodation. Mine is going to be very short. I don't want to say like a miniskirt because whenever I come here, SG walapho logo ethetha nge-miniskirts, but yeah. I'm not here alone from the student accommodation. I'm here with my colleague, Atingo Sinyangiwe. I'm gonna request him to come closer to me so that mine will be very short. He'll be the one that's giving the detail into the presentation. So as the title indicates, we are here just to speak of the processes that are going to be followed in 2026 when it comes to student accommodation. But before I get into the processes, I do want to first, be the first to acknowledge that, student accommodation, it's one of the most challenging units when it comes to NSFAS. We do admit that to a certain degree, when NSFAS took over student accommodation, the purpose of it was to ensure that we support the student in such an extent that it leads to, improved results and all of that. But currently there were failures within the system. So we'll be the first to admit, but of course, we were under a pilot. But moving forward, there are, improvements that as the unit we are bringing in. But for today, we are not here to discuss challenges. We are discussing the processes that will be followed. Number one, everyone who's here is aware that in order for one to benefit in terms of NSFAS accredited, you need to apply. So first slide speaks to application processes or the timelines or the dates in terms of when students can apply. So the first application cycle will be opened as of the 5th of January. The reason for that date is because we want students to have enough time to apply while they're at home before the academic calendar, classes start. So applications are done online and that's when we would open. But before that, there's a pre-planning and procurement that is going to take place. What is that? As I said, there were failures that were noted in that some of our accredited properties don't meet the standard. So as the plan in 2026, we're planning to visit all those accredited properties to re-accredit them, to check if they actually meet the norms, the standard that is set by the DHEAD norms and standards, so that we can be assured that our students are not compromised when it comes to their living conditions. So the plan was that we start in November, and by the end of December, we would have concluded that processes. But we are not done. We have started the process with the internal audit, yes, and NSFAS, to go check. There's been complaints about the grading standards and everything. So we are visiting. And we thought it would be important that we use the term when students are at home so that we don't distract them. We get to cover all those so-called accredited properties so that when you come back, if there's any improvement that the landlord needs to do, they would have done it so that it meets the standard. So that's one of the things that Atengose will cover as it falls within his portfolio. Then I spoke of the dates, our first date of opening being the 5th, and we are closing on the 27th of March. The reason for that, we want to allow enough time for students. Remember, I said we understand that one cannot apply if they are not funded by NSFAS. So we note that NSFAS has communicated that funding decisions will be communicated as of the 15th of December, which is tomorrow. So students can then start applying when we open. But even those that are not funded at the time, let's say in December, you will still have time to apply because we're only closing on the 27th. Then after that, we have introduced a process that we say it's a mid-year support and review, where we go back to say, okay, when we were doing accreditation, you met the standard, but as students move in, are you still maintaining that standard? Is everything still working? Is the Wi-Fi working? Is the geyser? So we do those monitoring and evaluation. I do want to touch, and I said, Ati will speak on this, but important to note is that as NSFAS accommodation unit, we've decided to say, look, there's an important stakeholder that we always omit into these processes. That is the student, you yourself as the student leadership. So when we do monitoring and evaluation, we do want to, we will have task team that consists of somebody from the SATVETSA leadership so that they can go and endorse and give a thumbs up to these properties to say, yes, they do meet the standard for our comrades to continue living in. And then you will see, comrades, all those dates are there. We open for trimester 2 on the 5th of May. Again, it's a week before the start of classes. So we separated semester 2 and trimester 2 because we want to avoid confusion. We know we've experienced in terms of the funding application, students tend to not understand these process cycles. So for us, it was important that we separate the two, trimester 2 and semester 2, so that students apply for the right process. And then the last cycle will be open on the 8th of September. And again, after that, there will be another inspection that will follow. And then lastly, there will be an end-year planning and review. What does that mean? It means we go back to you as the important stakeholder to say, you've been in this property for the rest of, for the whole academic year. Are there any changes that you want to note? Are there any things that that didn't sit well with you while you were here? What is it that you would want us to improve on and engage the AP on, right? So those would be the reports that we go around, we get, so that we can report back to the board of NSFAS. Because remember, this thing was a vision from the board to say we need to have accredited properties that meet the standard. So basically for 2026, we want to give you a listening ear. We want you to be part of the journey so that it's not a us and them type of relationship. We all own the process and we speak on the improvements that we want on the process. So in terms of the application, remember I have given you all the application dates, but what type of support are we providing? One, we are aware that there are servicing administrators that will be deployed. Further to that, the accommodation unit equally has its own consultants that are, given different provinces, but we understand that there is not enough resources in terms of accommodation, and as such, we have gone out to business, and the CEO has approved that we get resources from different departments to assist us, so that in each and every institution, we can have 2 resources dedicated to assist students only on application. And with these two resources, there will be people from, the solution partners. Remember, the portal that students use in terms of applying is not NSFAS owned. Therefore, the solution partners will be there in each and every institution, ensuring that the portal is working fine, there are no issues, and if there are issues, they are able to resolve them as and when they occur. So there'll be two resources. Currently, I cannot give names of those resources, but we will share the schedule as Mr. Ndima has done so. We'll share the schedules with the names, and if there are any changes on it, we'll equally communicate. The projected date for now is that they will be on the ground as of the 8th of January. Because, in as much as servicing will join later, but in terms of application, we need our people there assisting you. Mr. Sondi, there are other, plans that we have as the accommodation unit. In terms of, we understand that at TVET, really, there is no dedicated unit to student housing. And as such, you find a student, when they go to bursary unit, they don't always get the help that they need. So we are hoping to have a discussion, with the seniors of NSFAS to say, how about we maybe approach, each college has a dedicated resources that are solely there to deal with, NSFAS accredited issues, so that when you go to the bursary unit, you are not told, no, it's not, I don't understand this accredited. So those are the plans that we wish can happen going forward. Further to that, we feel it's important that we have workshops with students, to discuss their rights as tenants and responsibilities. Because some of them are young, they've never, signed a lease, they don't understand what is expected of them, the responsibilities that come with signing, and your behavior. And also to ensure that they don't get exploited. We have students that are forced to sign AODs, others are asked to pay rent, and some of them sign it because they don't understand their rights. So moving forward, we are hoping to have these workshops and teach students in terms of their rights as tenants. As Atengosi is coming, is up. As I said, there's a proposed improvement framework for accommodation. One, the issue of accreditation and standards. Ati will speak to that. In the last 2 weeks, we've been meeting the solution partners because we sort of noticed that there is a misalignment in terms of, the region of Eastern Cape has its own portal and it's quite different from the one of Gauteng. So we are hoping to have one central application process. Two, the funding allocation and disbursement processes. As of 2026, there's been improvements in terms of the registration loading process, in that when the institution loads registration, they now have an indicator that they must, they can indicate from the time that they're loading registration whether the student is now on NSFAS accredited or not. How is that going to assist? It's going to assist us to ensure that in terms of dispersing, we disperse to the right person. There has been a number of times where a student receives money that is meant for the landlord. So we're hoping in 2026, with that indicator, that will be improved. And we need not wait for confirmations from institutions. Stakeholder communication, we're improving that, because currently there was one mailbox where everything was, if you are talking accredited accommodation, whether from Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, you were sending to the same mailbox, which then it was impossible to manage. Currently, we as of I think last week, ICT has created different mailboxes for each region. So if you are a accommodation provider in Gauteng, you will send your queries or whatever issues to that mailbox so that it gets attended by the correct person in time. I'm gonna stop there and allow Artie to cover the last slide.
Good morning, everyone. My name, as introduced, is Atengosi Nyangiwe, and I'm servicing administrator for the Eastern Cape colleges, 4 of the Eastern Cape colleges, and I'm working with the SATVETSA leadership in the Eastern Cape. But I'm recently appointed as a manager in student accommodation unit, responsible for accommodation providers and accreditation support. I will try to not to repeat what Xolelwa already covered on the presentation, but to touch on the things that we did not touch. So one of the things when we had meetings with our solution partners that are in charge of the system of accommodation unit for students to apply, we realized, and in the process of meeting the SRCs as well, and engaging the leadership of SATVETSA, is that they were complaining that new students, when they come to the system, are allocated single rooms, and when senior students are coming, those single rooms are already full, then they are allocated in double rooms. So what we have done now is that we engaged the solution partners that they need to create an indication of where the students must be placed in terms of the room, the person that is responsible to approve at the college level, because the application goes to the college, and the college need to do all the checks if the student qualifies for funding, is the student doing the number of subjects that is required by the policy, and the student is not repeating the course, not is in line with the eligibility criteria. So now in the process of approving, they need to recommend whether the student qualifies for a single room or a double room, so that we don't have that confusion when senior students that are progressing, they come to those properties and they found out that these students that are new already occupied the single room. And in the process, I want all of us to engage DHEAD with SATVETSA as well, because unlike universities, at the college level, there's no dedicated unit that deals with student accommodation. So the financial aid unit and SSS are assisting in dealing with that unit. So there's a lot of changes in terms of the human resource who's going to approve applications in terms of the applications that we have for students. So we need to have a dedicated resource at the college level that is aligned to the person that is loading the registration, so that they're able to do the checks in the system. So in terms of the meetings that we had with solution partners, we realized that there's no alignment in terms of the system, and they said to us one of the problems is that NSFAS needs to draft the process flow for each and every process that we need, and we've already drafted those process flows. We're waiting for an approval of the CEO, and we're going to give the solution partners for an enhancement of the system, so that the experience that you get in another province, you get the same experience when you go to another province as well. So we're going to add a component that was already there, which is the monitoring and evaluation, but we're busy now. We'll submit a document. After we're done here, we'll go to Cape Town, because we need to be in the office tomorrow to submit these documents that we're talking about, to include the monitoring and evaluation, because what we realized is that we accredit properties and we don't go back to those properties and check the conditions if they are still the same. And we get reports when the monitoring and evaluation team goes to these properties, they get everything intact, but when they come back later on, the generator is removed now to another property, or the furniture that was in that property. So we need to find a way on how to deal with those issues of monitoring and evaluation. So what we're proposing to the CEO as part of the monitoring and evaluation is that the accommodation unit at NSFAS must be involved, and the internal audit team of NSFAS must be involved, and the SRC president must be part of the team that is going to do the monitoring and evaluation. In the university, the housing department is part, But at the college level, the financial aid office is going to be part of that monitoring and evaluation. And we don't just look at if the properties qualify. They might have all of these things that we need, but we need to look at the conditions of these things that we need in a property as well. So we're still looking at the way as well, because we have rural provinces, colleges that are found in rural areas. And now accommodation providers are struggling to get certain documents. So we're waiting for a report to our solution partners to identify all of these colleges that are affected, so that we can write a deviation document, so that we can have a deviation for those areas, so that we are able to get more accommodation. But it's not a deviation on quality of accommodation. It's a deviation on certain documents that they are not able to get at the municipality level. But the conditions of the properties must still be the same. So one of the changes that NSFAS has made in terms of the indicator for a private accommodation in a registration template, when they are loading now, there will be an indicator for that. So we're going to use solution partners as well to provide this information as they are providing to the colleges, so that we can have a view that, oh, those students that have onboarded on the system but did not go to financial aid, so that they're able to get them on the system and load them in a correct way. And those that might be loaded in an incorrect way while they are staying in accommodation providers, what we are planning is that we need to take the reports of the registration loaded every now and then and identify those students that are in properties but they are loaded with transport, so that we can talk to the disbursement team to block them while we are fixing in terms of the adjustment to be adjusted to be in accommodation instead of being on the transport. So in terms of one of the problems that we have in TVET colleges is that the policy of NSFAS, the eligibility criteria, says in terms of accommodation, we need to prioritize the accommodation of the TVET college. It must be full before we move to the accredited properties. But the SRCs raised the matter to say, look, but the conditions in some colleges of these residences are not up to standard, and we're looking at that issue to engage colleges so that they are in good standard, so that we don't have a problem of students being interested to go to accredited before they feel the property of the college. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's 2026. Let's give them another round of applause. Okay. Okay. So I'm going. Time is 6 minutes to 11. I want to open for a round of questions. Ne? I want to open for a round of questions, but we'll keep it to the same decorum that I had requested. Where's TK? Okay. So we'll keep it to the same decorum that I had requested. Okay. So I'll start this side. So Sfiso, I'll keep them up. Elangeni, Muteo, what's that? Coastal. And then Boni, isn't it? Coastal. That's College of Cape Town. The two of you share questions there, so that only one person asks. So College of Cape Town. That's Waterberg, the two of you. Waterberg, Skukune. That's what, Bembe? Bembe. Poland. Okay, it's your time to shine. Swiss. Waterberg, share questions. Give your questions to her. So, no one is going to ask more than 3 questions. Yeah.
Good morning, colleagues. I just have maybe a clarity question seeking for our NSFAS colleagues in terms of the NSFAS funding and occupational programs. I understand the model that is being utilized, but what I need clarity on is the allowances aspect of it, where it is said that they only fund for tuition, but you will also get allowances if you are in simulated training, and you don't qualify also for allowances if you've got an employment contract. So what I want clarity on is those that are doing occupational programs, but only get the tuition, why is their allowances not funded? How are they? Because it's 70% in the workplace, 20% at the college. How are they traveling to and fro to that? Because they don't have an employment contract, but they've got an it's either MOU or SLA or whatever the case may be. So I just want to understand maybe I wouldn't say the logic, but I just want to understand how is that being conceptualized to say they only qualify